Did I ever tell you about the time that my father went to an auction with me? We went there to actually find donkeys because of the land. It's a long story, but the point is, we went there for not horses. And at this particular auction, they were selling baby quarter horses. This was from the PMU sales that happened. And there were these baby quarter horses that were like $200 to $400. And we were sitting in the audience. My dad had the paddle and he elbows me in the side and he says, Tracy, 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 they're selling like horses for only like $200 to $400. We should get one. And I'm like, Dad, I don't, I've never, I don't know how to raise. I don't know anything. I can't raise a horse. And before I knew it, there my dad was just flipping this paddle up, just like, and I was like, what is happening? What are you doing? And there it was, sold. And I looked at my dad and he was like, there you go, bought you a horse. And I was like, what did you do? Now, my life significantly changed after that day at the auction with my dad. So many funny, crazy stories happened. The first being that we had showed up to that auction in a Lincoln Town Car. We had no way to get a little quarter horse stallion home with us. And so, after all these arrangements were made to get him dropped off at my little hobby farm, the gentleman pulled up with the trailer, pulled this terrified little stallion out of the trailer, tied him to the post in my yard, and said, good luck with that one. If I were you, I wouldn't let him off. You're never going to catch him again. And with that, they took off in their trailer and left. And I was standing there staring at this tiny little horse, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to screw this up so bad. So bad. And I was terrified. I had no idea what to do. And of course, I couldn't leave him on the pole. So I let him go. And sure enough, that horse ran away. That baby ran away. And I was like, no worries. I know what I'm doing. And I went and I got a bucket full of grain, because that's how you catch horses, right? You bribe them with grain. And I started to feverishly shake this bucket of grain, trying to get this little colt's attention. And he ran away. And I realized that he didn't know what grain was. So now I was just a maniac running behind him, scaring the bejesus out of him with a bucket of grain. Fast forward in my journey, and I had come across my farrier, who was an incredible horseman. And he was the one that introduced me to natural horsemanship. And it has been and still is to this day an incredible journey of learning to be with horses. And I have taken those learnings and melded them into some of the work that I do with dogs. And one of the greatest lessons that I think, one of the first lessons, and I think the most predominant one that for me, was this exercise called Be With. And I remember it was like the first lesson in the natural horsemanship stuff. And the goal was to literally just go out and be with the horse without any expectation. Just go out there and just be with the horse. And I was like, that seems silly, but okay, I'm game. So, and of course, keep in mind, this is years later. Magic is now, he's been gelded, and we have a relationship. Let's just say that. Not a great one, but a relationship. Anyway, I go out to the field with him and the other horses thinking this is going to be easy. I just have to go out there and hang out with them. No expectations. I'm not trying to catch them. I'm not trying to saddle them. I'm not even trying to groom them. Just going to hang out with them. Take a little stool with you, sit under an apple tree, just be with the horses. And I walked out to the field. All the horses looked at me, and every single one of them walked away. And some of them ran away. And I remember thinking to myself, how interesting. Um, and I say that laughing now, but I was really, really hurt. I was really hurt. Given, given the amount of times, I guess, that I had every time I've gone out to the horse field before, it was for a reason. It was to catch them, to ride them, to bring them in for the farrier, whatever, but it had a purpose. And on this particular day, I just wanted to hang out with them. And they all went away. It was, I felt like the horses were bullying me, honestly. It felt like they were bullying me. I'm like, oh my gosh, why do you not want to be with me? And it was humbling. And it was the start of some pretty cool understanding. So today on the podcast, I wanted to share an incredible exercise with you. This be with exercise is something that you can do with your dog. And I think you're going to like it. So with that in mind, let's get to it. Are you worried that your fearful dog may hurt someone or something else? Do you have to prepare just to take a walk around the block? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I too had that dog. The one that you could only walk at nighttime when no one else was around. And I felt ashamed, and oh gosh, I wish that people could just see the dog that I know and love. I wanted the confidence to be able to walk my dog and not have to worry about who or what was around the corner. And I kept telling myself that if I just keep doing obedience drills and distracting with treats, that things would get better. Until I found the secret. Fear is not something that you can train out of a dog. In this podcast, you will find tips to help build your dog's confidence naturally, communication and understanding to foster that trust, and how to address those fear-based behaviors effectively so that you can enjoy a stress-free life with your dog. So if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners, grab your notebook, and let's get to it. Hello, and welcome to Beyond Obedience. My name is Tracy. Ooh, I'm off to a rough start here. I just smashed my microphone. My name is Tracy. I am your very clumsy host here with you today. I am so glad that you're here. You know, I was often thinking about when I would do this podcast on this particular exercise. It's one of my favorite things. Ask any of my clients, ask anyone in Relationship Remedy. They will tell you that I have made them do the Be With exercise. I love it that much. After that fateful day in the field when all the horses turned their backs on me and took off, I started to really pay attention to the things that my animals are saying to me, to be a little bit more quiet and a little bit more aware. I didn't realize till that day how much I was goal oriented, especially when it came to my horses. I had a goal, right? I was going to go out and get the horses and have them come in for the farrier, go for a ride. And I had this end goal, and I never really took into consideration how they felt about it in the moment. So this is something that now I ask my dog loving friends to also do, because what I came to realize is that if I were to sit down and do some be with my dogs tell a very, very interesting tale. And I even do this exercise when I meet with clients, when I sit down with clients and their dogs. I'm kind of watching their be with story unfold in front of me, what the dog is telling me. And it's an incredible story that they tell. So, I'm really excited to share with you how you could start to do your own Be With sessions with your dogs, learn what your dogs are saying to you. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Before I do, I would be remiss to give a shout out to all the people who have been listening. Thank you for those that listen every week. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. It does mean the world to me, as well as my Spotify listeners who have the ability to send messages and comments back. And I wanted to share Karen's comment on last week's episode when we talked about off-leash dogs, because it kind of hit me in all the feels. She said, a dog ran out of my neighbor's house and immediately attacked my on-leash dog. I was so startled that I froze. I was able to pick him up eventually, but I felt like I totally failed him. And Karen, you and so many others, and it's not your fault. And that's one of the reasons that I'm inspired by this new course that's going to be coming out. I have a new course coming out specifically for fearful or fear reactive dogs. And one of the things that I am covering in that course is going to be what to do, how to handle it, so that you have a guideline of the things that you can do to help protect your dog, when to turn your back, when not to turn your back, when to pick up your dog, when not to pick up. All of that stuff is going to be covered in this new program, and it is coming out soon. I don't want to give you a date because I'm not sure, but soon. I'm working really hard on it. And how will you know when it comes out? Good question. And that is you have to be pen pals with me. I know I've mentioned it before. I'm going to mention it again. If you have not signed up for the Canine Chronicles, that is our incredible email list, if you will. I like to call us pen pals. It allows you to be able to get in touch with me. I can get in touch with you. I don't want to lose track. So be sure to make sure you're on that list. If you're not sure, I want you to go to beyondobedience.ca, not .com. Okay, it's beyondobedience.ca. Hang on the page for a second. A little pop-up menu is going to come up and say, do you want to join the Canine Chronicles? You just fill out your name, give me your email, and that's it. We're pen pals. We're forever connected. And what I love about it is you can send me, like, you can reply to I am the person at the other end of those emails. I will let you know that. I know some people are like, is it a bot? Are they? It's not. It's me. It's me. So feel free to connect with me that way. And that's the best way to do it. All right. Let's talk about Be With now. Let's talk about Be With, that incredible exercise that I learned years ago through natural horsemanship, and now I use on a daily. And I will tell you, I actually do use it on a daily. I don't necessarily set out to be like, I'm going to do a Be With session right now, but I will catch myself and be like, this is a nice moment. I'm just going to be with for a second. I'm just going to be aware and I'm going to be with. Right. So here's the setup for a Be With session. If I were to say to you, let's actually plan a Be With session. First and foremost, I want you to find the right location. So the right location to start is going to be a place that isn't normally a place where your dog settles. Meaning, don't necessarily do this in your living room where your dog has the dog bed there, because lots of dogs are just going to default to their routines, right? They'll be like, you're sitting down, I'm going to sit and lie in my dog bed, right? So try to find a space in your house that where the dog normally wouldn't settle. So if you have a spare bedroom that your dog isn't normally in, for me, when I do these Be With sessions with new dogs or whatnot, or honestly for the purposes of recording them for my relationship remedy students, I do it in my mudroom because my dogs aren't ever just settled in the mudroom. It's the room they go through to get to the other part of the house. So that's where I do it. And it's important because, again, we don't want your dogs to default to their regular behavior. We want to actually see where your dog and what your dog does in relationship to you. Okay. Now, we try normally to do a Be With, I would say that you would want to be at the dog's level. So that usually means sitting on the floor. Now, I do not want any of you hurting yourself. If you're like me, that I currently have an ankle injury or a knee injury or hip injury or back injury or whatnot. And if you're basically, listen, if you're saying to me, Tracy, if I get down on the floor, I may not get up, don't get on the floor. Okay. You do you. Use your, like, you know you better than I do. So if that's you, don't get on the floor. But for lots of people, I like to say get on the floor, because that's going to be the first thing that's going to be probably different for your dog, unless you're somebody that's on the floor with your dog all the time. Okay. So I usually put a pillow on the floor and I sit on the floor with my dogs. Another reason to not sit on the floor is if you get down on the floor and the dog just goes banana beans crazy, jumping all over you because the dog's like, you're here for a plaything. Then don't sit on the floor for your first one. Okay. Till your dog starts to get this. So, because this is something that your dog will not only start to get, but they'll start to enjoy as well. That's the beauty of Be With. All right. So choose your spot, whether it's on the floor or slightly elevated, either on a chair or a stool or something like that. Someplace where you can sit comfortably, because you can do a Be With for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes is usually the norm that I say. But, some people do it longer because it's so lovely and relaxing. And you might have a ton of how interesting moments. Okay, so you're going to sit at the dog's level if you can. And then here are the rules of Be With. And these are tough for a lot of us. You're not going to talk to the dog at all. Nothing. Don't talk to the dog. You're not going to talk to the dog. And you're not going to talk to the dogs with your eyes. Don't talk to your dogs with like your loving eyes and be like, oh my God, you're so cute. Don't talk to your dogs with, so we're not going to look at them really. Okay. And you're not going to touch them. Okay. No touching the dogs. Now, if the dog touches you, we're going to talk about that in a second, but you're going to try not to touch the dog. Now, listen, bonus points if you want to record this. Okay. Bonus points if you want to record this. Because all of my relationship remedy students are like, she makes you record it and then she makes you share it with her, because I love the Be With sessions. I learned so much about my dog and that, or, the relationship between the dogs and the people. So, but if you want to do this for yourself, absolutely. Take your phone, put it up high so you're catching you and the room as much as you can. And that way, this is the pro tip. Because I just said, don't look at your dog, you can actually look up at your camera, your phone, and actually see what your dog is doing, because you're going to be interested, especially if they go behind you. You're going to be like, what are they doing back there? Right? That's my pro tip. Okay. That's a freebie for you. Okay. So those are the rules. As unfamiliar room. Okay. It should be to a room too. If it doesn't have doors, that's also how interesting. Like, let's say, for example, you get down to do a Be With and you're like, I'm going to have this like moment with my dog, and your dog leaves the room. That's actually information. How interesting. My dog doesn't want to spend this kind of time with me. But generally speaking, if you can, have them in the room with you in an enclosed area. Okay. And then you're just going to sit and be quiet. And I want you to really start to be at peace. Okay. This is the key to the Be With session. That's why I call it a meditative exercise in awareness. I want you to sort of be in this moment. I want you to be aware of what the dog's doing without turning your head and looking and gawking. That's why the, pro tip, the camera up above so that you can see what your dog is doing. I want you to be intentional with your breathing. I want you to have the vibe of, we're just going to chill out together. And then you're going to see what your dog does. Now, for me and for my dogs, although I do have a Jack Russell, but for me and my dogs, this is an exercise we do all the time. So now my dogs know if I sit down, they'll all just kind of plop around me, lay down, figure out where they're going to go, and we just have a moment, and we just take in this moment, and it's lovely. But when you're just starting, you're going to use this as an exercise in awareness. What is it that your dog did? When you sat down on the floor, did your dog go crazy when you stopped talking to them? Did your dog start pawing at you? Or did they start barking at you, right? If I have a dog that is barking and pawing at me, that's a very how interesting moment. And believe it or not, it's teaching me a lot. I don't know if you guys can hear that. My son is doing trimming outside. So I apologize if you can hear the trimmer in the background. But it teaches you a lot. I mean, if I have a dog that does that, if I have a dog that's freaking out because I'm not talking to them, touching them, engaging with them, that may be an indicator that I might be doing too much of that. Maybe. I don't know. How interesting. Maybe not for you. I don't know. How interesting. It's just a how interesting moment. If your dog settled, where did they settle? Did they settle next to you? Are they touching you? Are they facing you? All of these things that your dog does is telling you a story. It's telling you something about your relationship. Now, I'm not going to lie. I get kind of geeky nerd out about this stuff, especially in relationship remedy. That's why I make everybody do it. And I'll be like, and I will watch those and be like, look what your dog did right there. Look how your dog did this when you moved. Look what your dog did. Like, it tells you a story. And it gives you a moment to be quiet and just observe what your dog did. Now, if you're going to try this, let me know. Okay. If you're on Spotify, let me know. I think that's going to be what I'm going to put that in the questionnaire. Like, did you try Be With? Let me know. Or are you going to try it? But here's the thing that I want and I need every single person to understand. There is no right or wrong when it comes to Be With. It's not like the exercise didn't work, because that's a couple of my students in relationship remedy would be like, oh, I started to Be With, but then a delivery came and my dog jumped up and barked at the window. That's not a failed Be With. That's just information. right? That's just information. How interesting, right? That's what my dog did. And then, oh, it was after that, the dog wouldn't settle back down. How interesting. I would take that and go, I wonder how long it's going to take my dog to settle back down after somebody comes to the house, right? How interesting. Everything is information. Behavior is information. Behavior is telling you a lot. And quite often, many of us are too busy talking, touching, and micromanaging our dogs to hear the things that they want to say. So there you go. I'm going to leave that because, as I say, I could really geek out about Be With. But that is an exercise that I do all the time. I even do it like I do traveling Be With now. Like I take my dogs to the beach and I sit on the beach and I be with there. And I just observe and I'm with them and I'm like conscious of my breath and they're calming down and all of that good stuff. It really, truly is a meditative exercise in awareness. Now, again, I'm going to give you that that safety disclosure there, right? If your dog is banana beans crazy and is going to jump all over you, do not sit on the floor. Okay. If you're not going to be able to get up off the floor, do not sit on the floor. I don't want to hear messages saying, I got on the floor, Tracy, I couldn't get back up again. I had to wait for somebody to come home. I don't want to hear that. All right. Use common sense. Like if you've got a banana beans crazy boxer, maybe sitting on the floor isn't a good idea. For me, when I had Apollo and I did Be With Apollo, I always did it sitting on a chair because there was no way I could sit on the floor with that dog. When I have my Noofs, I can lay on the floor and they will all just hang out with me. So different breeds, different needs. Okay. Different breeds, different Be With. Okay. Everything is how interesting. There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment here. And I mean that. I mean that. If you have a Be With session and your dog gets up and leaves and goes somewhere else, that is not a failed Be With session. That is a how interesting moment. Okay. So that is it for today. Listen, if you enjoyed this episode, can you do me a favor and share this with another dog loving friend? This is the best way that I can get the word out about the podcast. I want to reach more dog lovers like us. And so that's how you can do it. Also, if you haven't already, please take a moment and leave a 5-star written review for the podcast. It does help push the podcast out to more and more dog lovers like you and me. And as always, get out there today and be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you are amazing. And so do I. Have a great week, everybody. Next week, we'll talk about Be Quiet. Can't wait to share that with you. We'll talk soon. Bye for now. Holy moly, I forgot something. Ugh. I didn't want to record it all over again. You'd miss all of the original bloopers. All right, here's the thing. I forgot to mention what you do if your dog is pawing at you, poking at you, trying to jump on you. So the idea here is that we are trying to create a calm, meditative experience. We're trying to see if the dog settles when we settle. So if you have a dog that is pawing at you or trying to crawl on your lap or whatnot, what I want you to do is remember that energy feeds energy. So what we're trying to do is get the dog to calm down. So if I have a dog that's trying to, for example, climb on my lap, I'm actually just going to put my head down, fold my arms, and just lean forward and put my elbows on my lap to kind of block the dog from being able to jump on my lap. If they're trying to sort of come at me from another side, I'm going to make sure I turn my head away from them. So I'm giving them the body language that says, nope, we're not doing that right now, but we're doing it as calmly and as softly as possible. Because if you push the dog, if you take your hands and you push the dog off of you, you've created energy into that. And that's going to be a signal to play, right? Dogs, especially very physical dogs, are going to take that as, oh, she's on the floor and she wants to play with me. We don't want that. Okay. So keep in mind, you want to be as calm and as quiet. You're not going to look at the dog. Quite often, if I have a dog, as I say, that's trying to get up on me, I'm going to close that down by kind of blocking it. I'm going to put my head down so I'm not looking at the dog. And I'm going to start exaggerating my breath because I want them to understand that we're just going to be right now. We're just going to be quiet and see what happens. If that doesn't work and the dog is just driving you crazy and jumping all over you, How interesting. We end the Be With session there. Send me a message and we can go from there because that's information too. All right. That is now. It's now I'm done. I'm definitely done now. No more. Until next